Welcome to Geekshow Arcade.
Pew, 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 pew.
Oh yeah.
There you
I
go.
made weird noises if you didn't get that.
It's been a week since the last Geek Show Arcade, and it's only been a day or two since Geek Show helped us, because you probably listened to that. I mean, if you listen to this one, you listen to the other one. They're both
Right?
solid gold, except for when
Totally.
they're not. So
That
But
last
although
one.
I'm
that
here to tell
episode
you
was
the-
solid gold.
that was a good one.
I like the episode we just did of Help Desk.
Desk.
It was very good.
It was fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
I mean,
good
there was about 3 seconds right at the end that was a little hard, but anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Got him.
I agree.
Thanks,
Owen.
Owen.
Got him.
Oh, got him.
I saved that for this show.
That's good. And
Feel
then
free to
callback.
pay.
It teases the other show. It's a callback. It's great.
I don't like it.
Feel
All right,
free to
this-
attack me. It's okay.
This is the Geek Show Arcade. Let's
Eeyore.
kick things off by introducing the panelists here. On my left, I don't know how that works out on the video.
that worked.
Anyway, it's Owen.
Hey,
I see right.
See,
me.
I don't know. Check him out on Twitter at TechNoan. Underneath Owen, we got Lando
Hey guys, it's Lando.
at Landon Conover on the Twitters. And then to Lando's right,
Nope.
we got, there you go, we got Jarron.
Hey everyone, I'm Jarron,
Check him out on Twitter at Jarron.
and we got a host. His name is Tony.
Well done on the pointing, most of you. I'm Tony. Check
Talking
me
to
out
you,
on
Owen.
Twitter at QuadTTony. That's still the wrong way, Owen.
That's not I. Oh.
Yeah, that's the wrong way.
I
He tries
reversed
so
my-
hard.
I reversed.
Maybe
my
it's this way.
Oh.
Ooh, there's a
Do
video
it
only.
like this.
All right, let's see. Where are we going with this? Patreon. Yeah, big shout out to our awesome Patreon backers. Patreon.com/GadgetSpot for the time being. And we really appreciate your donations to this digital tip jar.
Digital jar.
Yeah, someone got it.
I got
And-
you, Owen.
Way to be. And if you donate $6 a month or more, aside from all the other perks you get, like the
Discord.
Discord and fully uncut versions
The in between.
with the in-between, that's a new thing we're starting. And I just said
Oh,
it out
this time?
loud. Yeah, I
Yeah,
said
might
it
as
out
well. Why
loud,
not?
so
It's a
I
new
Oh
show.
no! Oh, I said things that I
Be a
totally
good in
forgot.
between.
I was gonna say you didn't say anything. That's a Patreon exclusive right there. So you'll enjoy that. Hopefully, you'll enjoy it. And
Or else.
or else. And if you donate $6 a month or more, you get a shout out on the air, which Jarron has for us right now.
Thanks to our sugar tech daddies, David Broshinsky, Aaron Young, Stuart Lloyd, and Wiffleball Tony. Thank you guys.
I
Thank you.
love that he has to do this twice now because this makes this even better. Here it
Shout
comes.
out
Just
to
wait for
Mark
it.
Cope. Creighton Barrel is in the mall. Mall equals food court equals just an overpriced IKEA. You know, I shop at IKEA too, so
And I love
that
the
does-
food court.
Okay,
Have you been
it
in
still,
that new
it still
furniture store
hurts.
next to IKEA down the road? It's huge. It's a big. I can't remember what it's called.
Furniture Row.
RC
No,
Willie.
the one next door to that one, down the road farther. It's this giant new furniture store. It's ginormous. It makes IKEA look small almost.
Oh,
Doesn't
I'd
matter.
love to go there.
It is pretty good. You would like it. I liked it a lot.
Okay,
cool.
back to the Patreon.
All right.
Sorry, that was
Thanks,
that
Andy
was
Bird.
way off in left field.
Oh yeah.
It is a beautiful left field. Be the 8-year-old. King Knight to King Bishop 3. No Name, No Color. Keslow, Eric Steinman, Eric Cruz, Nathan Motzkus, Matt Nelson. Y'all should check out Hendrix Craftsman on Insta and TikTok. What do you want us to hawk? We'll do it.
Yeah, we
Josh
will.
Dorius, Dick Messerly, Splinter, Adam, Aaron Faulkner, Joe. Right does not, as a practical matter, exist without any remedy for its enforcement. Ryan M. and Adam Hecht.
All right. Thank you so much, Patreon backers.
got a special extra long shout out for Dick.
I had a stroke, okay?
I hope you're doing all right. All right. Let's see. We got some. Do we have any emails?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, nice.
Nice.
Geekshowarcade@gmail.com if you want to email us.
Got an email from Lang. Hello, howdy to all the arcade crew. I have a couple of questions that you can decide to answer now or hold one until later. First off, I hit Tony up last week about handheld PCs after the Ally review and started to go down the rabbit hole of all the different types there are.
And quite the rabbit hole there is.
Yes, there's a
currently.
lot. It almost feels like I'm walking into a comic book store for the first time, not knowing where to begin. I already asked Tony and figured I would bring it up to you all. Which PC handheld would you recommend? Steam Deck, ROG Ally, or GPD Win 4? I almost ordered the Win 4, but I don't think I can pass up the summer sale for the high-end Steam Deck at 20% off. I'll come back to his other questions. If you go Steam Deck, do not get the high-end Steam Deck. Get
the middle.
cheapest priced Steam Deck and
Seriously.
upgrade the SSD in it.
Is it on sale for the Steam
It
summer
is.
sale?
I think they're doing.
Yeah, it's $360 right now.
Yeah.
Wait, you
Versus
said get
how
the
much
cheap,
usually?
cheap one, not the middle
Yeah,
one?
get the cheapest one and upgrade the NVMe in it because the NVMe's are super cheap right now. You'll get much more capacity than 512 gigs, which is the highest one, and the special screen isn't really that special. I'm sorry, Owen.
It's not. I
No,
concur.
it's not. But similar to what I said last week, if you are fine living in the Steam ecosystem and you're okay not playing some games, Steam Deck is a great option. As long as you don't leave the front room of the Steam Deck OS, it's a great experience
Don't
generally.
look behind the curtain.
Yeah. But must say, newer games that are coming out, such as Hogwarts Legacy, Jedi Survivor. Well, those games run horribly, so it's not a good example. But
Dying
newer
Light
games
2.
newer games that are coming out that are exclusive to PS5 and Xbox Series X will not run well on the Steam Deck. Period, because it's not powerful enough. However, you won't get that problem with the ROG Ally and GPD Win 4. That's the newest one. With
Yeah,
the,
same CPU basically.
Yeah. Yep. And GPD Win 4
Or-
will also do great with that.
APU, I should say.
Yep.
My only complaint about the GPD Win 4 is it has a keyboard in the way and isn't very
Yeah.
ergonomic when it comes to the controller buttons and joysticks. It just does not look comfortable to play.
It
Feels
looks
like a
ergonomic
Kishi.
to me. It looks
It
kinda
looks.
cool.
I don't know. It looks like it was kind of an older throwback, like just not bigger on the sides. If you
It's
got
like
big hands.
it's like a mini laptop
Yeah.
clamshell, and it folds in on itself. The main thing I love about the Ally is the variable refresh rate screen. That is a killer feature in my opinion. And if you don't go
120
Steam Deck,
hertz.
it's an amazing screen.
That's what I told you, Lang. I said it's the screen. The screen is the differentiator on the ROG Ally and price.
Well, after listening to you guys talk about it, like from the outsider's perspective, like I don't plan on buying one of these things. Like if I was, just buy the ROG Ally because that's the one you want, right?
Yeah. I mean,
The
it's
Steam
not
Deck's
without,
good, but don't
it's not-
bother.
it-
Just get the Ally.
It's
It's
not
work
without
to
its-
get it set up.
It's not
for
without
sure.
its flaws, and it takes more work to get set up than the Steam Deck does. But I think it's. I think
You might
it's
enjoy that kind of thing.
I think it's a better product, just hardware-wise, all around.
Though PSA, if you are going for the Ally, I would wait maybe a couple weeks because there seems to be an SD card issue
Yeah.
where the unit is destroying people's SD cards,
Yeah.
and there's really no, they haven't figured out the cause yet.
Not
They're still
even-
figuring that out.
Not even independent testers have been able to nail down the cause. A lot of people
Yeah.
thought it was temperature related at first, but that's been pretty much thoroughly debunked. And other things, along those lines that have been tested and just found to be inconclusive.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
And I think Asus will do the right thing and like replace
Yeah.
people's units if they need to.
I think
But
they will too.
if you don't want to go through that hassle, maybe just wait.
Mine's been okay.
Yeah, mine's been good too.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. Moving on. Next question. When it comes to games, which do you prefer, sequels or seasons? I know the thing right now is seasons, but I almost feel like there's just way too much time that passes from the release that you can't even tell it's the same game. I vote sequels.
I also vote sequels. Seasons are almost only related to multiplayer.
Yeah,
And I don't
that's-
do a whole lot of multiplayer, so I want the next story in the series.
Right.
So that's a sequel.
And typically sequels are more polished than seasons.
Yeah, they're
in
more
my
of an
opinion.
overhaul, right? So like
Yeah.
it feels a little bit newer, not just kind of a refresh.
Unless you're Overwatch. In that
Yeah.
case, that's the same game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There are exceptions that prove the rule.
and it seems like there's very rarely graphical overhauls with games
Right.
that have seasons.
Yeah.
Whereas sequels, it's
They
a
almost
lot more common.
yeah. You expect almost an engine change or an upgrade in tech,
Right.
like something to
Yeah.
be more optimized.
Well, And that's because with the season model, you're just trying to milk more money out of the platform you already
right.
have.
Seasons
it's
are
iterative.
definitely cheaper, right? It's like probably
Yep.
cheaper. to
$10
develop.
usually for a season, or like 15 or 20 max.
I mean, if I look at Halo Infinite, I don't feel like I'm getting a new game when I get a new season.
No.
like
Right.
a new game mode, but like nothing like amazing. Like
no,
yeah, so
it's very few and far between where you have a game that runs on seasons that gets any sort of engine overhaul. You sometimes get minor upgrades here and there, but
Yeah.
look at Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite just barely got the Unreal 5 overhaul, and I think the Unreal 4 overhaul was like 4 years ago. I mean, it's
what a moneymaker,
and that's
right?
and that's the exception. I can't think of another game that has been around that long that goes by seasons.
Modern Warfare?
Modern Warfare already
They
had a
do it.
sequel.
Yeah.
They was it Warzone? Warzone 2. It's the Warzone 2 right now.
But
And
they have
don't they have-
seasons in the sequel too, though, right?
They do.
Yeah,
They have
seasons.
seasons and sequels.
They
Do
went
they have
3
do they have the same
years.
developer, and do they have the same developers do every new sequel, or is it different
No.
developers?
The sequels
I thought the
trade
sequels
off
were moved
for
around,
the
like it
single
was a-
player game and for
Right.
the multiplayer aspect. But for Warzone, that is a dedicated team that's the only thing they do is Warzone.
Right.
So, last I checked, anyway.
All right, going on. Anywho, thanks for all your continued casting. And yes, Owen, I did mean that you were great in the last email I sent in. I think referring to the 8 out of 10 something.
8 out of 10 is the highest you can get, right, Owen?
That's
Yeah.
all you. That's anybody who gives
That's it.
9s or 10s is lying to you. No, nobody gives you a higher.
Nothing's
than an 8.
perfect.
No.
So, in keeping with the interpretation of my tone, I'll just end my emails with little one-liners for Owen. Hey, Owen, maybe next time.
Boom. I like that.
All right.
Maybe next time.
Thanks for writing in, Lang. Let's see. Any more?
Nope.
The end. Emails.
All done.
Geekshowarcade@gmail.com. There you go. All right. Let's see. It looks like it'll be mostly a Tony day because I got the most stories on this one.
20 days are the best days.
I love Tony
I don't
Days.
know about that. I don't love Tony days, and I'm Tony.
Every day's a Tony day.
That's right.
If you're Tony.
So, Jarron,
Crazy.
how excited were you for future Lord of the Ring games?
As long as it wasn't the developer of Gollum, I was super excited.
Well, you're in luck then. It's a Jarron day.
Nice.
The Lord of the Rings developer that did Lord of the Rings Gollum, they just got shut down.
They're gone.
Oh man,
Yep.
that game must have
There's
been
a
a
big surprise.
huge flop.
Yeah, Daedalic has basically broken apart the team that did Lord of the Rings Gollum and split them up and said they're doing their best to put everyone on other projects and on other teams. And Daedalic also says,
Sorry.
Daedalic is the team. They work for another company that owns them, and I want to say Embracer. It might be Embracer. Anyway, the point is Daedalic is no more, and they're trying to get their guys jobs on other games underneath the parent company's umbrella. And
They're owned by a French company, Nacon.
Nacon. Okay, there we
Imagine
go.
Imagine doing so bad on a game release that they're just like.
Where a
that
month
was
later
it.
they just dissolve the
they just
team.
Yeah.
they just old yeller you, just
Yeah.
like just.
It's
would
it's
take
it's
you
not
around
that
back.
uncommon, you know.
I want to know if
It's not as uncommon as you think it is. It's happened to me.
management forced this game out early, or if they truly believed they had to have. There's no way that
Yeah.
the team making this had to think the game was ready.
No,
This game
yeah,
was supposed to
exactly.
come out in
No.
2021.
Right,
It got pushed to 2022, and then it got pushed to 2023.
and they basically
you gotta
said, "Put it
you
out."
gotta, yeah. At some
I can't
point,
believe they didn't cancel it before it released it, right?
they should have.
They should
Yeah.
have, but
Yep.
they didn't for some stupid reason,
Well,
and it was
because
just so
they
bad.
Thought, they thought Lord of the Rings
Could
name
sell
would
it.
carry
Yeah,
some
they
sales.
Thought that, yep, they thought the
You know?
brand would
You
just.
got to make good video games.
Yep.
Yeah, like Rings of Power was announced. It was about to come out. Makes kind of sense. Like, oh,
Yeah.
we've got to capitalize on that.
Yep.
And they were actually supposed to be working on another Lord of the Rings game, which is obviously now canceled because they no longer exist. So there you go. That's your Lord of the Rings Gollum
Tossed-
update.
Tossed
I feel
them right
bad.
into the volcano.
Exactly, the whole team right in the volcano. I feel bad for the guys that lost their job. That sucks big time.
Yeah,
But I mean, the game they put out was also really bad.
I
So-
totally agree with Jarron. I think
Spooky.
that it's. I definitely think that upper management, somebody up above, had to be like, "It's going out."
Yeah, someone said if we don't release it now, there's no chance ever
That we
we'll
get
make
zero
any
money
on
back.
this.
Zero money
We'll
back,
not
yeah.
make any money back.
Yeah.
And so they figured a small piece of what they were hoping for is better than no piece at all, probably.
Unfortunately,
Yep.
that's just bad all around.
Yep.
No one wins in that scenario.
Exactly. Let's see. Let's talk about what. So I've been looking at this one a little bit, Owen. What is Only Up? What is this about?
This is
It's
amazing.
been-
I'm into this. I'm so in.
I have been following. So if you're on TikTok, you can't avoid this. It's all
Or
the
YouTube.
hotness. Yeah, or YouTube. This is
Or
all the hotness
especially
in the-
Twitch.
Especially Twitch. So Only Up is a game
It's so bad.
that all your entire goal is to just get higher, get to the top, and it's obstacle based and it's time based. So it takes a long time to get to the top, and so Twitch streamers are loving this because, well, Twitch followers are because they get to see their favorite game player lose their mind when they get to the top and get a bad
It's
bounce.
such a bad game. It looks like someone took the Unreal Engine and just took all the random assets they could find and throw it into a game, and you climb
Like-
up over them. I'm
Yep.
not joking. Like there's
Yep.
credit cards you jump over, and then you jump over
Yep.
like
it's like
logos.
it's like
and you
if
jump-
somebody
it's just
took the
random crap.
leftovers. If somebody took the leftover assets from Goat Simulator and just threw them into a blue sky with a cloud at the top,
and you just climb them.
and
Well,
you
I
just
was-
climb.
I
That's
was
it.
gonna say this sounds a lot like Getting Over It.
That's
And
exactly
in the
what it is.
second
It's that, but
article,
3D.
It's like in the second article, it's like this is similar to Getting Over It with Ben
Yeah,
Foddy.
3D.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yep. And I think this is only $7 right now or something on Steam. You can go get.
It was
get this.
pulled from Steam for a minute. Is it back? It might be back now.
Yeah, I checked it earlier today because I wanted to see how much people
They were
paying for
using
this.
assets they shouldn't be. Assets
Yeah.
that were not designed
AI
for commercial
generated or
use.
something?
No,
Oh,
they were
right.
not. They were not designated
Oh.
for commercial use, and
Oh,
they
I
were
see.
obviously used for commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
So there's been a ton of updates that removes all kinds of assets and changes them out, and
Yep. And so
kinds of
yeah,
stuff.
you can watch gamers just losing their mind because it's like, I mean, there's people that are speed running this. I think the record is 90
It's-
or 63 minutes or something like that.
16.
Right now.
It's down to 16:58.
down-
I'm in the
yeah.
so you
programming
can't. There
community.
is
Oh,
an end.
yeah.
There's an end.
Yeah,
you
so you
get
get
to.
once you get to the very top, you press a button, right, Lando?
Yeah,
and yell
I-
Jumanji.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, sorry.
yeah, you get to the end, and there's a
There's
touch
a
up game
button.
timer, and you.
Anyway,
That's it.
You know, but like so. People finding the fastest routes and keeping those secret and like all
it's-
the drama, but watching Twitch streamers freak out, obviously for the crowds as well. But
And
like,
this game is jank. Like it's full of jank. Like it's
yep,
purposefully bad. Like the camera's not centered quite. It's just a little off, just
Oh,
to drive
no.
you insane. Like it's just janky bad. Like you'll miss
It's
jumps all the
designed to.
time. It's designed to drive you nuts.
like it's
So
designed
it's
not
like
to be
3D.
replicatable.
It's like 3D Flappy Bird.
like kind
No,
of.
Flappy Bird I think was better designed.
Here's what we
it
should
sounds
do.
like.
Here's what we should do. I have a proposal. Jarron and Tony should both download this game and record themselves playing it for like a couple hours. I would pay
Hours?
money to watch that. Oh, absolutely.
Hours?
I would pay
Yeah.
money to good money to watch that.
because
Not
the
bad
physics
money.
are because the physics are slightly skewed. It makes it so that you can't duplicate the same thing exactly every time.
Right.
So like
it sounds like a torture.
it's
It
designed
is.
to be a slog through the seventh circle of hell.
It would make
yes.
for some great
Like,
YouTube content, guys. I'm not joking. Jump on this
So-
train while it is hot.
only up, and yeah, it's I catch it. I'm just like, why? What is the draw here? I guess I just don't see the draw in that type of challenge. But
It's really the big deal is when you watch people play it on Twitch, right? Because
Yeah.
Twitch is this huge community where you go and watch people play video games, right? And it's super entertaining, like you said, to watch your favorite streamer just
Lose it.
punch their monitor.
yeah,
Well, I love this last statement here on the third paragraph to the end of the author of the article says, at one point there's a crown, or the game is also unafraid to psych you out. At one point there's a crown and a message of congratulations. Is that the end of the game? Absolutely not, you fool.
Nope.
You absolute rube. Keep going up.
yep, yep. And
I
then
like
stuff
it.
falls, and stuff falls too. Like there's traps and stuff that like will break and fall, and it's not just about random physics. Like there's actual
And it's the kind of game when
Misdirection.
you fall all the way back to where you were.
Yeah.
So you're going to spend a couple hours getting to one point and then completely lose all of that progress.
All
There's
that
no
progress.
checkpoints, nothing of that.
And you just
You're
fall.
just
And,
done.
there's another thing you can do. It's called time skip or something, and it lets you go into slow motion.
Slow-mo.
So you can like time your
Make-
jumps better, do some
Yeah.
stuff like that. But what I've seen is
matter.
just people just slowing themselves down as they fall. Just they're like, no. as they have a meltdown.
I'm not joking, guys. It would make
Yeah.
for some great YouTube content.
I'll think about it. I have
No,
other
no, no.
games-
There's no think. There is only do, Tony.
I have other games that I want to play.
But this is hot now. Gotta jump on the content train.
Oh, that's true.
James will
All
do
those
it.
sweet YouTube views. Let's go.
There you go. All right. Moving along to another update in the FTC versus Xbox drama, versus Microsoft, rather. And, well, let's just say the interns at Sony had a bad week.
They
Yeah,
did.
they did. They so when you submit documents during a lawsuit, you have to redact a lot of information that you don't want to be out in the public.
Yeah.
And Sony, whoever did this is Sony, used a black Sharpie to
Just
Uh,
black out.
black
Just
out a
cross
bunch
it
of
out.
stuff, like a
Could
bunch
you
of
read the-
numbers. And
Could you read the toner through the Sharpie?
So when they copied the documents and sent them on, the scanner picked up what was underneath the Sharpie,
Womp womp.
and
no.
all of the secret information,
Just facts straight over. Just
just straight facts,
There you go.
was leaked to the public, and the courts tried to redact it, but it was already out. You know,
Yeah. It's
already
once
out.
something gets out, it's
gone.
out. So some interesting things have come out from this, namely the cost and how many employees it took to develop certain games. As an example, Horizon Forbidden West cost $212 million over 5 years.
That's like a
With-
blockbuster movie.
Yeah, with 300 employees.
Yep.
Last of Us Part 2 cost $220 million with around 200 employees. Yeah.
Makes me-
Devs just be naming their price.
That
Oh,
should,
yeah.
That should tell the people at Gorilla that they need to work a better deal, like Naughty Dog, because they had 30% more people and they cost the same amount of money, so they're not
well,
getting as much money.
European
per employee.
developers, they don't make as much money as us out here.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Yeah, it kind of is actually. And then a bunch of stuff about Call of Duty came out. Sony says 1 million PlayStation gamers play nothing but Call of Duty. It is a Call of Duty machine, and that's it.
Which
That's
is why they're
wild.
so concerned, right? Which is why they're
Well,
pitching such
that's
a
why-
why they've hired the FTC to.
That's why they're saying they're having
Yeah,
a fit. But
exactly.
Jim Ryan already was
Already
busted,
outed. Yep.
outed, saying, "I'm not worried about them not bringing Call of
Yep.
Duty to PlayStation. That's not going to happen."
And we actually got to see the email exchange between between him and Phil Spencer in this last couple days. The full email transaction between those two, where what's his name, Ryan?
Jim Ryan.
Jim Ryan, sorry. He was basically naming all. He said exactly what the FTC said, which was, we want all the games from Activision to be available on all PlayStation systems. Can you say that you would do that? And basically said the same things, and then the FTC just comes out and shills the same exact thing in court. And I'm just like, well, guys, I think that anyway, like we said last week, it feels like the FTC is working for Sony, and the judge came out and even said that too. She said, I'm not worried about Sony. I'm worried about the consumer.
Exactly.
And your case
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
Their case is all based on how it affects Sony.
How it affects Sony.
It's not
She's like,
based
"I'm not-"
on how it affects the consumer.
Not at all. Like and she even chided them and said, "You had the data to make that case. You chose not to." From what I can tell.
Wow, that's
So-
insane.
And they just, it was a complete joke the last couple of days. That we were thinking some sort of deliberation on that. I think somewhere around today, because they're waiting until after the holiday. So should be any time now, after the 4th of July.
Yeah,
So-
it'll be interesting to see. So in 2021, over 14 million users spent 30% or more of their time playing Call of Duty. 6 million spent more than 70% of their time on Call of Duty.
Wow.
And like I said, about 1 million total Call of Duty. And then in 2021, Call of Duty players spent an average of 116 hours per year playing Call of Duty.
An average.
An average. So
How
across
many-
the
how many hours?
14 million users,
116.
116 hours
That's
per year.
insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
116 hours works out to be what? Almost 5 days.
Yeah.
And that's an average, right? So there's people
That's an
playing
average.
a ton more than that.
There's some people playing 0, right? Like in order
A
Or
couple
very
hours
minutes.
every couple
Yeah.
weeks, you know?
man.
Yeah, that's crazy. So Call of Duty is important.
Oh, yeah,
Very,
it's
Very
important.
important. Yeah.
It's a money printer, basically.
yeah.
Money
know.
printer go burr. Mm-hmm. That's an old meme, I think.
I think it still holds true. It's still valid. It's still a good meme.
I likes it still.
Yep. We have ruled your meme as acceptable, Lando. You may continue to use it.
Yeah, the youngins probably don't think so.
Screw them. All right.
We just lost some more of those.
They weren't watching anyway. We know this. Jarron
I already scared him off. I already
established it. Yep.
told him.
Yep, that's right. All right. Also, talking about the games, Apple Game Porting Toolkit has started to come out and be played with. There's a Digital Foundry video concerning it that just came out a couple days ago. The amazing thing about this Apple Game Porting Toolkit is it's somehow better and worse than expected.
Tell me more, Tony.
So, the way it works basically is you update your laptop, your MacBook Pro or your Mac Pro or wherever you're using, to the latest version of the OS, which is still in beta. It has
Get
to
the
be
beta version.
version 14, I think, is what it is on. Anyway,
Sonoma.
yeah, and then you have to download the Game Porting Toolkit and basically run Steam or whatever through that toolkit so that when you download a game, it goes through the conversion process and makes it playable on your Mac.
Like
Now
a
the-
Rosetta Stone for games?
Yeah,
Like-
basically. They call it, it's based off a fork of wine called whiskey.
So developers don't need to do anything then. That's
You
interesting.
mentioned this before. I've talked
But
about
is
this,
it-
Jarron.
Yeah,
Is it
so
janky, though?
here's the thing. In the video, Oliver is the person from Digital Foundry who, if you watch Digital Foundry, you know who Oliver is, but he's the one that did this video. And he just did the process for 5 or 6 games and played the games, measured the performance on the games, checked out the graphical fidelity, et cetera, et cetera. And surprisingly, it works pretty well as far as reproducing the game without big problems. For the most part, it comes through our artifact free. It comes through doing what it says on the tin.
So what's the performance like?
Poopy. That's the problem.
There's the catch.
So to get basically, if you were to compare this to running it on Windows and graphics cards available on Windows, he was running it on an M1 Max, fully kitted out, and he had 64 gigs of RAM on that M1 Max too. He was getting the same performance as a 1060, a GTX 1060.
That's bad.
That's not great.
Yeah. And on paper and in benchmarks, the M1 Max should be performing at about the level of a desktop 3060.
I wonder
So-
if that's a driver issue or a compatibility layer issue.
Or both.
Could be
Or
both.
yeah.
Yeah, who knows? But the point is, obviously there's plans to work on it and improve it, so it will
I was gonna
most
say this.
likely.
Maybe this is the first step.
Yeah, most likely will get better. But as it stands, and this isn't going to change much when it's fully released in the fall because there's only a couple months before this comes out. So expect
Well,
similar performances.
And the
what
purpose
these
of this
tests
is
are showing.
to see if it works or not, right? I expect big
What do you
changes
mean?
over time.
Is this Apple sanctioned? Like they're
Yeah,
doing
this
it, right?
is from
Yeah,
Apple.
this is Apple.
Yeah, so this is them not
Yeah,
wanting to
so-
wait for the gaming industry to catch up with
The,
creating
Although
games
it's
for
weird, I
them.
watched that. Did you watch that video from Snazzy Labs, whatever it's called, from Salt Lake?
Yeah.
He made
Mm-hmm.
a case. It was like Apple once a year during every day of dev conference. It's like here's a big 2-year-old AAA game, and that's the
Yeah.
only one, right?
Yep.
It's like
did
Apple
it
tries
again.
to tote this line, like we can play games, but then never really does anything about it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Well, and that was the funny part. At one point, Oliver in this video for Digital Foundry said, despite Apple's best efforts at trying to break into gaming, and I'm like thinking to myself, Apple hasn't put any effort into trying to really break into gaming.
Or hardly any.
Their effort was creating the iPod Touch and the iPhone and creating a new gaming market, basically.
Right.
Yep.
You know,
Which
and
worked
that's-
out great for them.
That's where they're
owning the
making their
mobile,
money.
owning
Oh,
the mobile industry, right?
Yeah,
Completely,
they're making more money than
completely.
anyone else. So I'd
yeah.
say they did a pretty good job.
They're already doing that. So,
Yeah.
but as far as AAA games go and things like that on console and PC, yeah, the actual performance you're getting out of this translation layer and what is it called, Whiskey on Sonoma? Well, they call it Apple Dev Kit or Apple what is it? Apple Gaming Apple Game Porting Toolkit. There we go. Is about it's half of the performance that you would expect given the hardware. So, and this was, it's like, yeah, we can get it up to 60 frames per second on Dead Space if we drop all the settings to medium and run it at 1080p with FSR2 Ultra performance on. So that means they were rendering it like 480p before it would upscale to 1080p.
And then they pass it off, right? Yeah.
This is much more than what Steam is doing with the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck is an x86 architecture, whereas the M1, that's an ARM architecture.
ARM,
and so
right.
they're
You're right.
not only having like a Proton-style compatibility layer, they also have to have a x86 to ARM compatibility layer.
And he talks about this in his video. He says,
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he says you have your DirectX to Metal piece that does that translation layer, and then you have your x86 to ARM that does that translation layer, and then furthermore, you have to remember too that the majority of modern CPUs boost much higher per thread than the performance cores on the M1 and the M2. They top out at like 3.2 gigahertz, roughly around there, at least on the M1, and you're now seeing most CPUs single core boosts up into the 4.5 to 5 gigahertz. So you're getting a lot more data to IPC per thread on the high boosts frequencies. So anyway, I think it's cool that they're doing this. I think it's really interesting, but don't hold your breath for, AAA awesome gaming when it releases in the fall.
I'm going to anyway. Just
You're going to hold
you
your
know.
breath anyway? Okay. Well.
Just sorry, I'm an Apple guy and I want to play games with my Apple, and I'm going to hold my breath.
Well, here's the thing. You'll be able to do that. You just won't have a very good experience.
Yeah.
Well, I'm okay with turning the settings down to low,
This
which
is
I know is
beyond-
funny.
There's a
But I'm okay
point
with
where
that.
it's like, okay, that's too low.
When you're talking about upscaling like a 480p or a 360p to 1080p, that's way worse than
I've
low.
never had that experience, so
Yeah, okay. Well, it basically makes the
it
games
sounds poopy.
look super muddy and just not sharp at all. And
But
I
it's
guess
an action.
like a Switch game, so you're used to that.
Yeah,
so.
I'm more about the gameplay. You guys have heard me. I've stopped talking about this long ago, right? But I care about more if the game's fun than the graphics, and that's a battle I'm not going to win. But that's just who I am, and I'm
Well,
okay
and
with
also,
that.
You're
it
just
is an
okay with being
actual-
wrong.
It is
Yeah.
an actual step that Apple's taking, though, right? Like
That's
it is
the
an
thing.
actual
I
step.
like
that they
seeing that
did.
it's happening.
Yeah.
There's effort, and we're
Yeah.
going to give them
Yeah.
an A for effort.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep,
all that.
agreed.
Just give us one dump truck of money to put in effort into this, and like they could do probably some good things. This was like a half dump truck of money that they spent on this.
No, less than that. They didn't even create the translation layer
Yeah.
from scratch. They
They're
used
like,
wine.
meh.
They used
Yeah.
to port a branch of wine. So anyway,
We'll see what
But yeah,
happens.
interesting update there. It's it'll be interesting to see where that goes. So let's see. Oh, I missed a good segue earlier. I apologize for this. We were
Tony.
talking about Call of Duty. Owen has a Call of Duty article right here.
They have, this is great. So one of the big things with Call of Duty is cheating and their anti-cheat
Yeah.
and their methods for
bots.
anti-cheat. One of the things that Call of Duty has done to try and fight cheating is if they catch you doing it, they slow you down. Right? They'll freeze you. They'll make your gun disappear out of your hand if they catch. So there's these things that like that's
great.
And because what they know, just like with corporations and stuff, you attack the money, or if you attack the points, the KDA, right?
KD KD ratio.
Yeah, the KD
Kill death.
ratio. You attack their points, their status, and they'll start to be like, well, I look sucky anyway, because that's the whole reason you cheat, right? To get
Right.
like a better
To look
status.
good.
Well, they have a new one they've implemented because the reason that they discontinued the other one, because when you're actually playing and you're in a high stakes moment and all of a sudden somebody seems to be walking through an active like zone or frozen completely.
Nice.
Wait
It
a
can
minute.
completely distract you, right? It
Yeah.
can make you think your game is frozen or something, like question
true.
you. So the new thing for anti-cheat, if you're caught cheating, like the system catches you for using a wall, wall hacks, right? That's the
Yep.
biggest one. It will randomly choose another player in the game. It chooses another player's skin and creates what they're calling a hallucination. Then this hallucination looks just like the player, but only the people that are cheating, that have been deemed cheaters, can see the hallucination. So as soon as they actually peg that player, that fake hallucination, then they're immediately outed as a cheater, and they get kicked or whatever, or whatever they're doing, and you can have your account banned or many other warnings or whatever. But so basically, they have these like sleepers in the game that if you shoot at them, the only way you could see them to shoot at them is if you're using cheats. So
okay.
you can't, only other players can't see them. Only the people that the algorithm has defined or has caught cheating or suspects as cheating, and they'll put them in. And when you compare them, there will be another character. Like there will be another person in the match that has the same exact skin.
Right.
And so you can't tell. There's no way for the cheaters to be like, oh, that one's a cheater, because it could be a
look
real
the same.
person. Yeah, it could be a real person. So it's I like following the anti-cheat battle. I'm really into InfoSec too, like in the IT sphere, and so like it's kind of the same idea of
Absolutely.
cheat versus anti-cheat, security versus hacking, and so it's a cool little take on trying to clean up the game, trying to get hackers to play nice.
So did you see what they said at the bottom here? Within the first 2 weeks of launching this detection, they saw a 59% drop in
Yep.
the use
Wow.
of cheat devices
Yep.
in
That's
Warzone
crazy.
2 and Warzone.
And and so of those 50% that like did cheat, they didn't utilize the device anymore. So it has an effect. I think it's pretty cool.
It's
The
clever.
last game, I don't play Call of Duty, but the last game I did play that really pissed me off in that way was Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
Oh man, that thing got so riddled with cheaters by the end of
by the end, and I loved that game, but I eventually got to the point where it drove me off. I'm like,
Is that why I was so bad at that game?
Sure.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
sure.
it.
I mean, by the end, I couldn't even. I was like, "What is happening?"
Yeah.
and it just kind of ruins the game at that point. So, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It's a Team Ricochet, right? That's the people controlling the data and kind of that's the people that are reporting on this. So
Yeah, that's who Activision works with on this stuff is
for
Ricochet.
anti-cheat,
Yep.
Ricochet.
So, yeah, that's good stuff. My favorite anti-cheat thing I heard about a while back, and I don't know if they're still doing this, but anyone they decided was a cheater, they would dump them from the match and put them in a match with other cheaters.
Yeah.
So
I
you
love
had-
that.
You had
Elder
to fight
Scrolls.
against other cheaters.
Elder Scrolls, Elden Ring does that. It puts you in purgatory or whatever. If you
Oh
have,
yeah,
and remember the underwear issue?
The
when people were
underwear.
eventually so many people were picking up the underwear that people didn't realize that they weren't in a real.
The cursed
they-
underwear.
They realized that there were so many people that had picked it up that they didn't realize they were in purgatory. They're just like, oh yeah, everybody's playing here now.
Oh,
So
I found a bunch of people. Nice. Yeah, there you go. All right, let's see. Well, we need to put your tinfoil hat on again, Owen, because I'm sure there's a conspiracy in here somewhere. But Google's at it again.
I hate Google.
They remember how they just finally pulled the plug on on the life support near corpse that was Stadium. Stadia?
Yeah.
Well, they're bringing it back, baby.
No,
Wait,
it's
what?
it's been reanimated.
It's being reanimated.
Google brought something back?
As not as Stadia anymore, but they're reportedly experimenting with online games via YouTube. So
Come on.
What?
yeah,
This has got to be the core parts of. This has got to be recycled Stadia, right?
Of course.
it is 100% recycled Stadia because according to a report by the Wall Street Journal, the offering would be called Playables and would feature arcade-style games like Stack Bounce, where people use a bouncing ball to smash through layers of bricks. And basically, the way it works is you play on their servers. You know, it's just a lower. It's not a AAA game or whatever, but you play it, and you can play it on YouTube and live stream and things like that. And it all goes through the YouTube servers.
Similar
And
to what
like-
Netflix is doing with their gaming. They've got
Kinda.
one that's like that too. That's like Bash Ball or whatever. They've got one that's like breakout type.
But you're
of
not playing
load.
them on Netflix servers, right? They're just you're playing
Yeah,
it
you
through your
download
Netflix
them.
account?
You download them on
them.
mobile.
Yeah. See, this would be via the YouTube website, or on the YouTube app, or iOS and Android devices, but it plays off their
So it
servers.
streams.
Let me
More data.
educate you guys about some accounting, okay?
Yes, please.
Oh,
Cool. I love
Learn
this.
it.
I bet
love
you didn't.
this.
I bet you didn't expect me to go there, right?
no.
So
Not at
when
all.
you have an asset, when a company owns an asset,
I'm already lost.
and that asset
What's an
is
asset? That sounds dirty.
are you serious? You don't know what an asset is?
I have an asset. I'm sitting on it.
You may need to go to
Hey,
level
got it.
0, Jaron.
Anyway,
You just
when
started
that
level 0.
when a company owns something, whether
okay,
it be
okay.
a physical item or something they built, which they sell,
Oh, you're talking about
Like-
an asset.
like a product, you know,
Oh, assets, right?
Yeah.
when
Got it.
when that asset is no longer valuable, they
A
have
what?
to write off the value of it on their books. Okay. And
Hold on.
sometimes that could be
Write
a
off?
good thing. Sometimes
Is
that
that
could
like
be a
when I
good
write stuff
thing.
off of my taxes on pay
Sometimes
for
that
it?
could be a bad thing. Like if they want to, if they already have a bad year, sure, write off assets, make it look even worse so the next year's better, right?
Right.
Using that term write off. I have no idea what it means.
However,
What's a
if
book?
you don't want that on your books, then you don't want to write off your asset. Your asset still has to be in use. Therefore,
I
you
see.
can't just
Oh.
This is
trash
just a-
it. You
this is
can't
just
just
a tax
kill it.
shelter. This is just a tax shelter.
So it could be that they want to keep using the Stadia assets
Hardware,
because they don't want to write it off.
Interesting.
Just yet.
Not just the hardware, but like the technology, the software behind it as
Yeah,
well.
the money they've invested
Right.
in the
Yeah.
production of it and the R&D and all that.
I'll have to
Just
go
a
back and listen to that all
theory,
again to understand
just-
it because I was
just
just
a
for ways to
theory.
make fun of Jarron not
It's
listening.
that is a good theory.
I like that theory. I think yep, you just activated his tinfoil hat.
Activate, I have to.
Yeah.
I now believe it is fact.
Because
is now
arcade style
reality.
games like Stack Bounce, your computer can run that.
Yeah,
you don't
your
need
phone
to
can
run that.
Hmm.
Yeah, you don't need to run this on servers.
Yeah.
Maybe there's cool multiplayer stuff, and YouTube
No.
streaming. They want to take advantage of that asset. Who knows? You're right, Jarron. You're right. I'm just trying
Shut
to.
your asset up.
Oh,
I see what you did there, and I approve.
nice one.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, cool. Hey, you may just learn something, Jarron. Well done.
I feel smarter.
Yeah, I do too.
I told you I was going to educate you.
You did it. You did it. All right. Let's see.
Even with all of the crap we gave him, he still got through it.
I
Good
know.
job.
I'm proud
Thank you.
of Jarron. Let's see. So, last thing I want to mention
That's kind
is
of mean. I'm sorry, Jarron.
It's okay.
shh, shh.
Sorry, Tony.
You're a good boy.
That looked kind of good. Like you reached over to pat him on the
You've
head.
seen those TikTok videos where they like have one video, then they add another video, and they add
Yes.
another video,
So
another one video,
good.
another video. That's what we're doing.
Exactly.
None of this matters.
Nope. All right. Let's see. Last thing I want to mention is for the love of Pete, video game companies, please just stop making single player games have to report back to servers, even if it's not in
Yes.
multiplayer.
Nope. That's the new method for licensing.
It is the worst because, for instance, this has been on the docket for a bit, but we're going to talk about it. This article's from June 25th, so it's been about 10 days since this happened. But if you play Diablo, you remember. You know what I'm talking about. Diablo 4 was down for about 2 days off and on because someone was launching a DDoS attack on the Blizzard servers. And what that means is not just that you can't team up with your buddies in Diablo 4 and play co-op online.
Right, yeah.
It means you can't play at all.
Nope.
Because Diablo 4 has built-in internet requirement for it to phone home every so often to the server to validate your license.
That's the worst.
And so you want to play single-player Diablo, you think you own that game? Too bad. Nope.
Well, what happens when the servers go down? Gone
The
forever.
game's done.
Yeah.
Game's gone forever.
Well, and that's like this is my I have never played StarCraft 2 because of this reason. Right? That's when they first started doing that. You had to have an internet connection and a BattleNet subscription.
Yep.
Yep.
to play StarCraft 2, even
Although,
in
to be
single player
fair,
offline mode.
StarCraft 2 is great.
It is, and I'm totally sad that I've never played it. It just kind of fell away from me because I was a huge into StarCraft Brood Wars and stuff before that, and I was so excited for StarCraft 2, but and then once I fell away, I never came back to it. But it's the same idea. Like requiring that phone home for an offline game is completely unnecessary.
It's trash. And we're harping on Blizzard on this, but they're not even close to the only company that does that. Tons and tons of developers do that.
DRM has all moved to this phone home ping.
A lot of it, yeah.
Has moved to that validation for phoning home.
Yeah, DRM's bad. Online DRM is lows worse.
Exactly. Because say you want to play your single player games off the grid because you're going on to a cabin camping or whatever. So you load your laptop or your ROG Ally or your Steam Deck. You load it up to go play in off the grid. And wait a minute, I can't send this 1 kilobyte packet back to the server to say that I'm there.
If you're Elon Musk, then you're just doing you a favor, Tony.
Right.
Helping your addiction.
He wants me to touch grass.
That's right.
Touch grass. I read when StarCraft 2 happened, I was so enraged. I ended up going deep down a rabbit hole like I do, and I found the server, the validation server.
Oh.
And I had for a while. I never did it. Once I found out I could do it, I kind of was like, when I want to do it, I could do this anytime. And I never did it.
And you felt good.
Yeah, I felt like I had. Yeah, it scratched the vindication. Like, I got you itch. But basically it was the validation server only, and you could set that to fix your camping issue scenario, you would have to bring some sort of wireless router for it to connect to, and then you could do it on a LAN. But basically you point your device
DNS.
at that, at that server, and that would be it would validate and let you play offline. But I've seen some projects where they're using like a mini PC to run that server, or I don't think they've got it set enough to do a Raspberry Pi, but they want to take that to have because you only need the one service to validate that. So
we're talking an absolute very, very, very small amount of data,
right?
It's not like it's sending 100 megabytes to validate stuff. It's probably a couple kilobytes.
Yeah, and not that I condone this, but back in the day, if you borrowed Adobe Photoshop from the cloud, you would go and you would you'd go to your local host file and change all these DNS entries to have a manual just to wrap it back home.
Yep.
Right. And same idea. I just think online DRM is just such a bad way to do.
It's a bummer. For
it's
sure.
necessary for subscription services, and I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's
if
a different story,
and even then, you can have it so you phone home once a month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for games that you buy, there should not just be DRM. Period.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
No. Is there So you are 1,000% correct. Are there any games that do more than just DRM when they phone home? Are there any games that do offloading processing to the cloud?
No.
And that's why they need connection? It's all just DRM.
It's
The only reason they need it is for DRM.
Game statistics, performance statistics.
Yeah. I was gonna say
that metadata.
There might be some performance statistics or crash reports or uploading your save to their cloud so that you can pull the save off on another thing.
Yeah.
But there's no development. That seems silly to me. Because as a developer, I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I get some heavy compute to do, and I can offload that, maybe that's a good way of doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the latency and things like that is never good enough to rely, because that was the whole promise with Xbox One. Xbox One came out and they said, we're going to have Azure loaded up with stuff to help your Xbox render bigger worlds and all this crap.
Sure.
That's
It
expensive.
never happened.
And then they met somebody,
And that's what Stadia was supposed to do too.
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
never happened.
And it failed because then they met somebody in the boonies of Ohio that had 12 megabits per second, and there's
they can't play.
And they're like, well, we assumed this was going to be in urban settings only.
Yeah.
And even in urban settings, people aren't getting those speeds because of infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
Okay, DRM sucks. That's it.
It is. It's poopy. The only thing
know-
DRM really does is push people to pirate more things.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and that's the thing is DRM on physical copies is also necessary because I know people that literally I mean on the internet. I don't know them personally, but I know
Nice
of,
cover.
Of people.
I know of people that they'll spend the money. They'll spend the money once, and if there was no DRM on physical copies that you bought, that's the biggest issue with ROMs and games now is that didn't exist before. It was all offline, so you can get these pure ISOs that are just completely I bought the game, and that's my gray area,
For me, in my opinion, the best way to fight DRM and those kind of issues is make your games and make your content, make your media, whatever it is, as simple as possible to get to,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I want to play the original Super Mario Brothers. Make that dead simple for me, right? And I will pay for that service.
Yep.
Charge $5 for it because it's 20 years old, 30 years old,
Exactly.
and people.
Right, but
Yeah.
same thing with
Pay it,
with like TV shows
Absolutely.
and movies
100%.
and
Yep.
And they
sports.
did that during when Nintendo had the Wii, but they took all that away.
Virtual.
right. So
console.
now we go back to pirating, and they wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, or rebuy the game. Backwards compatibility should be table stakes at this point. Like
Yep.
that should be part of your system.
Especially since it's
Of your brand,
It's
right? It should be-
standard on Sony and Xbox stuff now.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
should be part of your brand that you can play any game if you get the new system. And I get why they can't. We've talked about that with how expensive it is to rebuild the engine and all the things, and like it wouldn't look great. But specifically for digital stuff that might be rendering on the cloud or whatever, like move it to the server in that way.
Yeah, and the biggest problem beforehand, we've talked about this, was changing of medium that the game is delivered on, different cartridges, etc. But then
Mini
also,
disc.
the problem of they would frequently completely switch architectures from one generation to the next. So backwards compatibility becomes very expensive at that point, and it's like I can understand that. I guess it still sucks.
It's also a
But-
forward asset, right? Like you can say, oh, this has been now reskinned for the Wii U or for
Yeah.
the Switch, right? Like that's a selling point. You can say, oh, and like we talked about with Mario Kart previously, like they didn't really do much from Wii U up to Switch, other
Yeah,
than
they
say
just made it
it's-
a little prettier. All right. Well, there we go. Is there anything else you guys want to hit on before we call it? Silence is golden. Okay. Thanks for listening, dear listener. Yeah. Thanks for downloading us. Thanks for checking us out on YouTube if you decided to do that. I think that we're probably only going to keep the Gadget Spot RSS feed around for another couple more weeks. So if you haven't already, switch over to the Geek Show feed where you get all of the Geek Show shows, such as Geek Show Arcade, Geek Show Help Desk, The Space Show, Geek Show Live, all of those good shows, and pick and choose what you want from that feed. So until next week when we're back, Owen, take us out.
Hey, we hope you care.
Nailed it.